Hello, welcome to the 8th day of January 2025, or 6. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation, a live video broadcast exercise that I do every morning at 5:30 a.m. to remember my life objectives and principles, those which I've codified in my book, Going Alone, in which I think about and apply every day at this time. I also use this time to think about the events of the last 24 hours since I did this yesterday, both uh, the positive and the negative, so that I can see where I either did well or where I did poorly relative to my values, so I can tune and improve said values. Let me light this candle. I also then prepare for the coming day. But before I do any of that, quick thank you to my YouTube supporters, my Patreon members, and those who watch my videos. I do appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, I'm Kurt. I'm a 61-year-old American living in Shizuoka City, Japan. I am retired, although today is my first day going back to work. So I guess, what does that mean in terms of vocabulary? I'm still retired, but I'm working because there needs to be a way to frame that because it's very different. Going back to work under the under the framework of retirement doesn't feel anything like work before. It feels like, you know, motivated purpose, right? You know, in the past when I would work, I was motivated sustenance, right? Motivated to sustain myself and my family, going to work to make sure that the electricity light stayed on and the refrigerator kept stocked with food and the landlord was kept at bay. Now it's not like that. It's going to work because I want something vital to be to do something vital with my time. Important, sustaining in a different way. So I think it's good to describe it. I think it's good to still describe myself as retired, but retired with a job. Hmm, I'm retired with a job. Maybe that's a way to say it. I'm a retired man who chooses to work, right? That frames it differently. And that really, really, uh, well, I'll see how it unfolds, right? I'm just starting. So let's see how this journey goes. Let's see how I view retirement a month out from now or a year out from now, retirement and working. I have a feeling that this is going to suit me very well, that I'm going to be very happy uh, uh, having a small part-time job to add some structure and a sustaining routine in the week. But I digress, don't I? Get a little off base. What else do I do during this exercise? I plan for the coming day. But before any of that, a quick disclaimer. I do talk about sensitive subjects in this video. You may sound like okay, stumbling over myself. I do talk about sensitive subjects like death, for example. I reliably speak about my own death every day. I'll close with a little comment that seems to unsettle some people. Just be a heads up that that's how I operate. Keeping death foremost in my mind, in the spirit of memento mori. Remembering death is a really important part of my life and how I strive to live well. Is there anything more in terms of a disclaimer? No. All right. So, I will read and respond to comments when I get to the end. Oh, well, there is one more disclaimer part. This is a personal journal that I'm doing. Uh, think about it very much like you're looking over my shoulder as I write in my Dear Diary. Dear Diary, it's Thursday, the 8th of January. Yesterday, dot, dot, dot. That's what you're going to hear here. So if it seems like, wow, Kurt makes this video and all he does is talk about himself, that's what a diary is for. So, and I'm at leisure to talk about my day and myself, my interests, what I, anything at all, to any degree that I like. You're welcome to watch or not to any degree that you like, and you can leave whatever comments you like, and I will read and respond to them when I get done. Excuse me, I got an itchy nose. All right. Well, with that said, let's look at the last 24 hours, and I keep notes here. I have this notebook that I turn the page every day. I have several of these notebooks that I use in various purposes, and I have one over there as well. But this is the notebook that I use for the meditation part. So I'll check. I did my greeting, disclaimer, and my thank you. As for the last 24 hours, now I'm not here to necessarily relate on a blow by blow basis what I did yesterday. I'm here to talk about the moments where I was challenged in some way. And really, yesterday went very well. It was a little bit challenging to contain myself. It was the first day that I really was over the influenza that I picked up. And I think I picked it up in the plane coming back to Japan. And yesterday was the first day I was back on my feet. But yet, I didn't really want to overdo it. So I kind of took it easy, but I really wanted to go out in the garden and do some stuff. I've been started a project before I left to working in clearing the bamboo forest, and the bamboo forest is looking so beautiful. We haven't had rain for weeks, and so the bamboo forest floor is very nice and dry. And I've managed to get out all the thorns, and it's turning out to be beautiful. I'm getting it ready for spring, so that we'll have a beautiful bamboo forest in the spring. I wanted to get out there and mess around in it yesterday, but I didn't. Really, the only thing that was on my mind yesterday that I had to manage, because that's what I'm after, is how did I manage what was happening, was my thought about tax season. It's tax season again, time to do my 2025 taxes, which are going to be complicated by virtue of the fact that I utilized a lot of our resources to facilitate this home purchase, the car purchase, the transition to Japan. Um, Plus, it's the first year that I have to do taxes in both Japan and the United States. And it's the first year I'm doing all of this without uh, my um, my EA. I was very fortunate for more than 10 years, the last 10 years. I've had a very good enrolled agent who's been doing my taxes for me in the United States. And she's always done an amazing job, just amazing job, saved me so much money over the years. And an enrolled agent is a class of tax professional. Um, and she and I both retired the same year. So I retired in last year, and so did she. So I lost my enrolled agent. I lost my tax professional. So now I decided that this is a good opportunity for me to go up my own. For before I had, um, and her name was Alice, and I don't need to. I won't give her last name. And if Alice sees this, she won't be anything but I guess flattered by my uh, compliments of her skills. Alice always did an amazing job. And before I had Alice, I had done my taxes myself for decades. So I'm good at doing taxes. I mean, I was. I didn't. I mean, then as soon as I got Alice on the picture, I saved a lot of money. I went from. I didn't save as much money as I did with Alice. And what was great about having Alice was that I saved everything and I knew that it was on the up and up. I mean, Alice is a very um, the type of tax professional who make sure that not only our taxes done right, but they're done lawfully, which is very important to me. So the reason I decided to do taxes myself was one, my taxes are much simpler in retirement, right? I mean, I've just got my pension. I will, in the in beginning in my 2000 this tax year that I'm going to do now, 2025, will be last and the last complicated tax year probably for the rest of my life. Going forward, it's going to be very easy. The only income that I'll have is from the United States, is my pension, my Social Security, which starts this year. In fact, I'll be kicking Social Security off in next month. I'll be filling out the documentation to start Social Security, and my ego as well. Plus any excuse my means plus plus any other incomes such as my YouTube income, my book sales, and any income that might come from sales in my online store should I resume that business. And I know how to manage all of those income streams. These are mostly 1099 income streams. It should be very, very straightforward and simple. And I want to do it myself. And the other reason I thought it would be a good idea to do it myself is that I'm retired. I got lots of time, so this would be fun to become an amateur tax professional, so to speak, right? With a simple tax scenario. The more complicated part is the Japanese tax side of things. Now, my wife will take on that part. Now, the good news, of course, is that America, where I'm from, in Japan, where we live, and where my wife is from, where I live, it's well, it doesn't matter that my wife doesn't work, so she doesn't make any money, so she doesn't have to report any. She doesn't. She's not owing income for anything. But given that I live in Japan, I'm a resident of Japan. I have to file taxes on my global income on both countries. I have to report to both Japan and America my global income on both sides, and then pay the appropriate taxes. And they're not alike. They're not similar. And but Yumiko will help me with the Japanese side. She's going to become expert at that. And fortunately, though, Japan and the United States have tax treaties, which means that we don't need to. We're not double dipped, right? Although that's kind of true and not true in a way. There are some interesting things, like for example, in America we have did the standard deduction and the marriage standard deduction, which Japan doesn't have that standard deduction, not at least not quite the same, not as robust as it does in the United States. So, whereas in the United States, I won't have to pay taxes on the first portion of our income relative to the standard deduction. In Japan, without the standard deduction, we will have to pay that tax. So again, that's not being double taxed. That's just simply paying taxes in Japan, where I wouldn't have to pay them in America. So that means we're going to have to pay more. I consider that's just fine. That's the duty that we pay for the luxury of living in Japan. So how is it going to work? Because I've done this before. I know the game enough to know how this works. But we're going to wind up paying. The first year is going to be a little bit complicated, so let's not even worry about that. I've got that already in process. But on a going forward basis, we'll pay our taxes. Our primary duty will be paying taxes here in Japan. So, which the timing works out great because the tax is due in March versus April in the United States. So we'll pay our duty here in Japan first, which will be more than we would have to pay in the United States, due to the fact that there's no standard deduction. And we'll get that all done and paid for. And then I'll fill out the paperwork for the taxes in the United States. Um, and then make note of the fact that check the checkbox that says already paid my foreign duty in Japan, and America will file that paperwork and we'll be done. That's exactly how I did it for the decade plus that when I lived here before. So I'm going on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And on. Now you can see that, okay, last 24 hours, there was only one note here in my notebook. It says tax thoughts. You can see taxation is on my mind because it's tax season. And so I'm thinking about taxes, and I'm not worrying. I'm not doing anything this week. I'll begin to assemble and begin to fill out my taxes next week. And That's going to be doing that, but it's on my mind. So again, no one really cares about those details, but filling out all this detail like I just gave you is helpful for me because it helps me to spread it all out before me in verbal form so I can review and look at it. Now, the part that's interesting is, how do I apply the values in my creed to my tax thoughts? Well, no surprise to anybody here, I begin with temperance, Because when the feelings about my taxes start to rise up, as they do every year this time of the year, a little bit of anxiety begins to feel. I can feel a little squeeze in around the heart, right? It's like, oh, you gotta get the tax time. You gotta pay Uncle Sam or Uncle here, Uncle Hiroshi here in Japan. I use temperance to control that. Temperance, and then apply reason. It's always the 1-2 punch of temperance and reason, and then reason to say, well, okay, well, I know how to do this, right? I know the logistics. I know what the bill is. I know what needs to be done. I've done it many times. Okay, sure. I don't have Alice to help me anymore on the American side. That's true as well. But I do have others. I mean, I know, and I have collected names and phone numbers of tax professionals here in Japan, should we need them. I've even got names and phone numbers that I've collected over the last couple of years of tax professionals who specialize in taxation for mixed American and Japanese residents. So not only do I have the resources, the information, past experience, but I've got a little black book of contacts that I can reach out to in plenty of time. I'm starting early. It's only the first week of January, and I'm already getting started. So, and I've got until March until I need to be filing my Japanese taxes. So, temperance to control the emotions, reason to plot and remember my path forward, and then steady #maturity to guide the ship. Okay, going over my creed. Uh, there are 8 objectives in my creed, and I'm going to read today the first of those, uh, and then I'll recite the remaining 7. So let me open my book, and we'll start. Typically, what I do is every day I recite my first 8 objectives just to get them out loud. I can explain them, elaborate on them to whatever degree I like, and then I go over one of the principles. Today, I'm starting fresh at the very beginning, and I'll read the first objective. Tomorrow, I'll read the second objective, etc., until I get all the way through the 8 objectives and then the subsequent 35 principles and come around to the beginning. It takes about a month and a half to do that. Today, we'll begin with objective number 1. Let me put this down and open the book to that page. The objectives and principles that I'm going to discuss here are found in my book, Going Alone, in the chapter titled The Good Life. And you can read these if you like, if you buy the book, or you can read it for free at goingalone.org and then click on the book link or the read the book button at the middle of the page, and you can open the book and look for the chapter titled The Good Life, which in the hardbound edition starts on page 246. Go a page in or so, and the first principle or objective, that is, will be right there. And maybe it would be worthwhile to read it from the very beginning of the chapter, because it's only a page in before I run into the first objective. Gives me sets the stage and the context for the greater uh, bulk of what's to follow. Keep in mind that this chapter comes this far, giving you the finger, this far into the book. So I don't introduce, and the book is a vehicle to share the creed, but it takes that much story to get to it. So if you want to know the context in which this creed is communicated, you can read all that story there if you want. So the good life. Let's read the first part of the chapter, the good life. And the subtitle here is Creating a Life of Meaning. And there's a quote here by Jens Peter Jacobson. He could not hear the indifference of life any longer, could not endure being cast off and thrown back on himself again and again. No home on earth, no God in heaven, no goal out there in the future. He would at least have a home. He would make it his own, by loving everything there, big and little, every rock, every tree, the animate and the inanimate. He would portion out his heart to it all so that it could never cast him off again. I added that quote when when I read that in the book, and I realized that that had described exactly what I was attempting to capture at this point in the story when the going alone part was done and the coming back part began. And I wanted to explain the virtue and value in embracing what we have. And then the creed then follows because it's the toolkit by which that life can be improved and lived out in a very active and deliberate way. Now, here's my own writing. The Good Life meditation is my daily effort of recounting, considering, and developing my personal life objectives and principles. I perform this activity in the morning, usually on my way to work, as a start and readiness to the coming day, and as a reminder of the best life practices I have so far uncovered and made my own. With practice, the effort has become as familiar and refreshing as making and enjoying a hot cup of coffee, leaving me fortified and invigorated for whatever the day may hold. Note, I periodically record this activity on video to upload to a special YouTube playlist called The Good Life. I recommend watching one of these videos for more in depth coverage of each point, as well as personal examples of how I apply these objectives and principles to my own daily challenges. The playlist URL is included in the appendix. So you're watching one of those videos right here, right? So this opening chapter, the opening paragraph explains what the good life is, and then a recommendation too that if you're curious to see a deliberate exposition of the activity, then check out my good life playlist on YouTube, where you can watch a video just like this. Now, in fact, when I wrote this, I was on season 1 of that, and I think this is season 5 or something like that I'm on right now. Affirmation of human and civil rights. I added this in because I thought that this was important to balance the field. I must recognize, respect, and abide the rights of individuals and the smaller groups within society, such that these are not compromised in the pursuit of the common good. I thought that that felt important to add because I worried sometimes that my efforts to live well might wind up throwing some people under the bus if I'm not careful to remember their rights and my responsibilities to them, especially those who are vulnerable. So I just added that in as a personal reminder. Remember, this is all ultimately this is all about me trying to tune myself. So if I put in caveats that apply to me, I need a careful reminder because I'm not as much of a humanist as I would like to think. Sometimes I do feel like I'm a bit selfish, and I need a little reminder there to hey, be careful with the self focus sometimes. Okay, here's the 8 objectives, and here's number 1: be always ready to die. It's the most important objective in my life. And there's a little smaller note there in smaller text that carries on. It says, be always ready to die, comma, or become infirm or old. So I need to be ready for both death and infirmity and decrepency of old age and all that is entailed. And there's a quote here by my favorite author, Dr. Johnson. That we must all die, we always knew. I wish I had sooner remembered it. And here's my own writing. At all times, have every important life affair in order, my decided purpose, my household and finances, as well as my connections, obligations, responsibilities, and commitments. Have also my art in a state of readiness to carry on as my only real legacy and potential lasting memory after I am gone. my last photo taken, my last sketch complete, my final word penned and saved. No letters left to write, no goodbyes left to speak, no one left to hug. To be ready now, and at a moment's notice, to loosen my grip when life is done all at once, and then fall into darkness without a single backwards glance or backwards thought or longing backwards memory. Likewise, to be prepared if I am no longer able to care for myself due to infirmity or old age. This objective is my reminder to have myself in a state of readiness to die at all times so that I don't leave behind a mess on my desk or a mess with my relationships or a mess with my affairs. I want to make sure that my wife and daughter will be cared for, namely my wife. She's the one that is my dependent at this point, that she's sustained for the rest of her life. We're not young anymore. We I want Yumiko to enjoy her freedom, which she is. She's enjoying being retired very much. Emily's already provisioned with a degree and an adulthood, and she's off on her own, taking care of herself. I want to make sure that there's no one that I have in my life that I have sour words that have not been rectified, or at least that I have not attempted to rectify in some way, and there isn't. And I want to make sure that my personal affairs are in order, so that whatever barbaric yelp I wanted to leave behind has been yelped and said and is done. And it is. Oh, and by the way, if you've seen these regularly in the past, you might remember that these 18 books up here, this is my personal library. This is the books. These are the 18 books in the course of my life that were the most influential books in my life, and that I collected and put together in a special little library on the shelf for my daughter to leave behind to my daughter, to say, this is dad's, because I don't keep books. Once I read a book, I don't keep it. I move it on. I pass it along. But these I kept. And you may remember that for the last year or so, I've said that there are 18 books in my personal library, and I only had 16 of them. I was missing two. Well, when I was back in America this last uh, month, I found both of those. There's two remaining ones, and was able to complete it. So now that's done too. My library, my personal library, is complete. Um, every book that I've ever wanted to write is done. Most importantly, Going Alone is complete, written, edited, tested, worked out, exercised, and distributed. Completely done. And I have nothing yet that I really want to say. My life's work is complete. I'm just enjoying my days, tinkering in the garden and endeavoring with my job, enjoying the opportunity to spend time with my family and my friends and my community, and to be, to the best of my ability, the best man that I can in the time that I have remaining. So my life's work is complete, my relationships are in good shape, and my affairs are all in order. I'm ready to die. That's why you'll hear me say it at the end. I can always conclude this exercise by saying, tonight I will die in my sleep. And that is me saying my memento mori. See, I told you I'd talk about my own death. My memento mori caution that I will to be ready for death. Okay, that's number one. The second objective is to make good and effective use of my time. Number three is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. 4 is to cultivate good emotional reactions. 5 is to perform good actions relative to my values. 6 is to do just one thing at a time. To recognize my true limits and true opportunities. 7 is to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. And number 8 is to achieve and maintain a state of balance in my life. Okay, I've gone over my creed. For the next 24 hours, that's the last thing I'm going to do. Today's my first day of work. It's not actually formally my first day of work. My formal first day is next Tuesday. My work schedule, at least through April, is Tuesdays. I have teach two classes in the morning every Tuesday. I've told the school that I'm open and available to teach every day, every week, so they can give me as many lessons as they want. But that's all I've got for now, and that's fine. But I apparently someone else got sick at the school, and they asked me if I can come in today and teach a substitute class. So I'll do that today. First thing I'm going to be doing is going off and teaching my first class today. It won't be my This won't be my students. This is another teacher's students, but it'll be my first class, and I'm very excited to do that. Very, very excited. Let me show you this. I found this lovely leather handbag at a at the antique flea market the other in I think it was in November that I found it. Got it for like $2 or something like that. It's leather, and my good friend Molly brought me by some leather care and cleaning goods, and I was able to polish it all up and get it all nice. It's really nice. It's got folded pockets. So I got this all up. It's all loaded with my gear for the day. Oh, I can keep that right there. That's a good spot. I was looking for a place where I could keep that. I'm all ready to work. I've got my gear all set up. Let's go ahead and read comments. Hello, Erica. Hey, Kurt. You said it yesterday, but I'll say it again. Oh, no, I said it yesterday. I being you. Said it yesterday, but I'll say it again. It's super good to see you at home. I hope you and Yumiko have a great day. Thank you, Erica. I appreciate that. We had a fun day yesterday. We went out and got, well, very unlike us, where there's a cinnamon roll place. Think Japanese Cinnabon, a cinnamon roll place that opened up downtown. And Yumiko and I drove there yesterday and got cinnamon rolls for ourselves and for Yoko and Dad. Now, I'm not a person that eats that kind of stuff, but my basic policy is I don't eat sweets unless someone offers them to me, and then I always say yes. And if my wife says, "Let's go get cinnamon rolls," and we did, and boy, it wasn't anything like Cinnabon. It was a quarter of the size, and I chose the one without the frosting, and we had fun. We did that, and we took Dad out to lunch, and we had Yumiko had made a great dinner. It was a really nice day, and I got ready for today. Hello, Tim. Tim says, "Good morning. Weather check for the UK at 8:37 p.m. is 1.8 C and 84% humidity. That's cold. Storm Goretti due to arrive Thursday. We have an amber weather warning for 20 centimeters of snow. Goodness gracious. Rain apparently tomorrow, arriving tomorrow for us, Tim. And temperature wise, it looks like it's, gosh, it's like about 2 or 2 degrees out there, something like that. And humidity, can't even read the humidity. What? Well, oh, and actually, the humidity is up to like 60%. That's good because it was really dry last week or a couple of days ago. Evelyn says, "Hi, Kurt, Erica, and Tim. Thanks for giving retirement a new spin. You know how much I struggle with that concept. You and me both. Hopefully, I can enjoy retirement better now that I'm working." What kind of sentence is that? What, what the hell? Hopefully, I can enjoy retirement better now that I'm working. You know what I mean? Erica says hi to Evelyn and hi to Tim. Penguins Tim, that is, says hi to Erica and Evelyn. Robert, hello Robert, says hello to myself, Erica, Tim, Evelyn, and chimes in with currently 32 degrees Fahrenheit and 86% humidity with an air quality of 66. That's a little better than yesterday, huh? In Napanee, Ontario, Canada. Robert, Erica says hi to Robert. Tim says hi to Robert. Tim says, "Funny on taxes. When I received my retirement tax free lump sum, it was paid to me in 2 months. It was paid to me 2 months late, so incurred interest to me, which I then had to declare to the tax man as classed as taxable income." I see. I did. That's an interesting thing. You get a tax free lump sum, huh? But you had to pay income on the interest that they paid you. That's an interesting thing. That had to be declared. It's interesting to see how each country does their thing differently, huh? Elvina says, "Hello, Elvina. Hello to Erica, Tim, Evelyn, and Robert." Robert says hello to Elvina. Erica says hi to Elvina. Tim says hi to Elvina. Evelyn says hi to Robert and Elvina. Erica says, "Oh, it's fantastic that you completed your library." I did. Elvina, thank you. Says, "I appreciate the always ready to die more and more lately. My sister-in-law has cancer, and we were able to spend time with her last month with family around creating some wonderful memories." That's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that, Elvina, and I'm glad that you take the always ready to die in the spirit in which it's intended. Some people don't. Speaking of that, did you guys see? I don't know if you're familiar with Adam the Woo, an American YouTuber who died suddenly on the 22nd of December. He's famous for his daily blogs, the Daily Woo, and it was sobering. I'm a follower of Adam. He's an American who does travels both abroad and in America, and is known for his was known for his eclectic and interesting vlogs, his daily vlogs in particular. He was a big fan of Disney World and Disneyland, and would spend a lot of time at the parks. And I watched his last video yesterday, which he made just 24 hours before he died. He was taking a man dressed as the Grinch, very convincingly dressed as the Grinch, around his Adam's hometown of Celebration, Florida, to admire all the illumination, the Christmas lights, and the trees and the decorations. And it was a very good video. Now, Adam, at the time, of course, wasn't aware that he would no longer be with us within 24 hours of completing that video. And as he signed off at the end, with his typical salutation at the end, it was quite moving to me to know in hindsight that was truly the end. Being always ready to die, right? Hashtag memento mori. Adam the Woo, if you want to check it out, and if you want to see that last video, which I thought was well done, it was a good video. Check out his the Daily Woo. He's got two channels. He's got the Adam the Woo channel, and then there's this other channel which I think is more popular, the Daily Woo, which he started it as a side channel, but it became the main channel. And look for the one of him and the Grinch running around Celebration, Florida. Evelyn says, "Happy that you were able to locate the missing two books during your absence." The last one, let me tell you this, Evelyn. This last one was really hard. The two books that I had to get was this one here, Carl Sagan's Cosmos, which wasn't hard to find, but I previously had a hardbound edition, an actual first edition that I had in my library that I gave to someone in Los Angeles, and actually a YouTube viewer, and who also bought my wife's car. But so I got that. Here it is. But that was easy to get. I was able to get that at just a local bookstore. Here's the book that was hard to get. Over here at the end is where I have all the religious books, and there's. Let me pull this off without having the whole thing fall down. Just a second. Okay. This is for you, Evelyn, because I know that you and I appreciate our books, right? This was hard to find. In fact, I found it on the very last day as I was headed to the airport. I made a detour trip to downtown Los Angeles, to an obscure section of LA, to a bookstore in an Orthodox Jewish community where I suspect I was the only non-black hat wearing guy in the whole place. Is a Hebrew bookstore basically, and it was really hard to get to. It was in downtown LA, near downtown LA, in a Jewish community. And what the book was, and what I was after, was this. This is the Torah, and it's book one of the Torah, so it's basically Genesis. Torah, of course, the the am I saying it right? The dodecahedron, the Pentateuch, the first five books of the Old Testament correspond to the Torah. Although, of course, the Torah is different. It reads a little bit differently. It's got its own kind of take on it. And of course, then there's the Torah, and then there's the Talmud. The spoken version, which you can actually read. But anyway, I'm getting way off. I love this stuff. I just love. I'm the most enthusiastic atheist in the world when it comes to the Bible. I read and study the Bible every day, and and I really, really, really love making deep dives. And a very good friend of mine, who is actually a longtime friend of the channel, Black Hat. You see by the name Black Hat. He's an Orthodox Jew, and I mean, he's one of my. He goes way back. Some of you that have been with me for a long time may remember seeing Black Hat's comments and from the back of the days. I haven't heard from Black Hat for a long time. Anyway, I used to, when I was doing my Freeway Bible study, which is a book that I wrote. It's a study. It's a deep study. My deep analysis of the first few books of the Bible. Anyway, Black Hat would give me, and I would ask questions, and Black Hat would give me answers, and he would frequently quote a particular Rabbi Rashi, and say, "Well, Kurt, if you're going to understand the Old Testament, and if you're going to understand the Torah, because as long as I'm in the first 5 books, I'm within the realm of the Torah." He says, you need to understand what Rabbi Rashi said, because he would keep quoting this guy Rashi over and over and over. So who's this guy Rashi? Can you teach me about him? And I learned that Rashi is probably the most celebrated rabbi in Judaism, perhaps. And arguably, right? But I think very convincingly, I think you can make a very strong case that that's the case. So what I was looking for was a copy of the Torah with with translated notes, not in Hebrew, because I can't read Hebrew. I needed translated notes of Rabbi Rashi. Now you can do this. There's an app called the Chamad, Torah app that you can do, and it's very good to do it. But I wanted a hardbound copy of it to add to my thing, and something that I could actually pull out and sit and read, because that's how I'd like to do it. I'm old school. Here it is. I got it. Look at this. Oh my gosh, Evelyn, isn't this incredible? It's the Chamash with Cham. You can see it. It says right there. Oh, I'm flipping everybody off. It says the Chamash with Rashi, and it's every bit as good as you can hope for. I mean, it's just. I'm so excited. I can't believe I got this book. Now, I only bought the first one because I couldn't find a compilation. I couldn't find all 5 books in one with Rashi commentary. So this is basically Genesis, the book of Genesis with Rashi commentary. If I decide to, I can get the remaining 4. Now I know where to go. I know where the bookstore is. And I had a great experience when I went there. A young Orthodox man helped me out, and then the owner of the store was an older man, and the two of them, in very Jewish fashion, argued. I was sitting there. I was like giddy. Here's these two Orthodox Jewish men arguing over which of the books, because they had a whole wall section of Torah with translation by famous rabbis, and of course the centerpiece of that was Rashi, and they were arguing over which of the volumes to recommend to me as the best one. And if I mean, and my gosh, if I was to choose a religion to be, I would probably choose Judaism, and I would want to be. Remember, like in Fiddler on the Roof, how Tevye, all his dream was to spend his time in his days, have the freedom to spend his days with the learned men at the talking about the Torah. And that's when I got to watch a couple of Jewish men. They were even doing the. Anyway, they recommended this, and if I try to open it, I'll end up dropping it. But okay, I'll just do a little bit. You can see it's got the Hebrew up here. This part up here is the actual part from Genesis with the Hebrew translation, and then down here, this is Rabbi Rashi's commentary on the words above. Mission complete. Boy, I went on and on about that, didn't I? You touched a happy nerve, Evelyn, when you mentioned that I got my book. And that was a fun quest. Let's see if I can find that. Okay, here we go, Eric. And I got to wrap this up because I got to go do morning exercise. Thank you, Eric, for Evelyn, for asking about that or commenting. Erica says the bag is sharp, looks brand new. It doesn't it? It's because Molly taught me how to. He gave me all this clean leather cleaning equipment, and I was able to clean it up so nice. Tim says, nice bag. I've held on to my old work bag, which I used for over 20 years. I couldn't part with it once I retired. It's like a bag of memories. I love it. Tim says work, retirement, balance, LOL. Yes. At Lothamhor. Hello. This is the first time I think I've seen your name before. Although maybe did you come in by once before? Welcome if this is your first time, and welcome back if it's not. Hello. I watched the channel many, many years ago. Glad to see you back in Japan. It's been several years since I've looked at the channel. So yeah, maybe I do remember your name from years ago. It's good to see you back. Welcome. Robert says hello to at Lothamhor. At Dark Violent MC1. How's it going, Kurt? A little early for the both of us. Indeed. Welcome. Robert says hello to Dark Violent MC1. At Luthor says hi to Robert. Evelyn says yes, because when we chatted briefly, you hadn't found the second one yet. That's right. That's right. And boy, I did. Boy, did I. And Luthor Moore says believe in yourself. Says something at believe in yourself. Mon Patel 2729. Welcome. It's good to see you. Morning, Kurt. Happy to see you back home safe. Will you be doing any stuff like you did walking around the old town? It was so interesting. Do you mean here in Japan, like my old walking videos and stuff like that? Yet to be seen. I will tell you all. When I came back to Japan, completely spent. I wasn't thinking I was going to do anything for a while because man, the horror show took it all out of me. But I've quickly recovered my senses, and I tell you, I'm telling you, it's like I'm not a religious man. I don't believe in God, but there have been some messages that have been coming through in the last for several days. There was one the first day I walked out of here. I was so worn out. I was so worn out I was from the horror show. And then after my illness, the very first day I took a walk, Yumiko um, was out. I took the dogs. She had to take her dad to the clinic, so I took the dogs, just myself, for a walk out. And I kind of resolved I wasn't going to make videos anymore. I was so worn out from the horror show, and I started walking with the two dogs, and we're starting going uphill, and the weather was really nice, and I heard my phone go ding, and I opened my phone up, and there was a long email from a gentleman just a little older than me telling me the nicest email about how my videos have been meaningful and helpful to him and interesting, and he mentioned by name everybody in my family, including Tatsuya and my sister-in-law. He knew everybody, and just not asking for anything, not asking to make more videos or anything, but just telling me how much my videos have meant to him. And I had to stop. I haven't responded to that. If you see this, I haven't responded to your email yet because I'm just so moved by it. And this often happens to me when I get really moving messages. I need a couple of days to just kind of digest them a little bit before I respond. And um, I stopped and I looked up at the sky and I said, are you screwing with me? I mean, the timing couldn't have been better because I was just at that point of like, am I going to get back into it? And then I got this message, and I've had like another two or three similar such messages or comments since then from people, and including some that I had to text to my wife and say, look at this, and because we've been talking about it, and Yumiko's telling me, yeah, you're not done. So I guess I'm not done. Yeah. So yeah, I guess I'll be making the videos. Robert says hello to Mon Pentel. Dark Violent Max says this gives me memories. It does. Evelyn says it's a sign that you found that particular edition on your last day. Isn't that signs? Huh? At Mon Pentel says I study from the complete Jewish Bible. It is the best read, so fulfilling to read and learn. The interlinear Bible is Hebrew Old Testament translation in English and Greek New Testament to English. Fantastic. Sounds like another resource I need. And I also have, for my record, I have King James edition over there, and I have my NIV edition over there. And I read. In fact, just yesterday, I was studying. Still reading Moby Dick. It's been a year later, and I was chasing down the etymology of the word Leviathan, which it turns out comes from Hebrew. And I was looking up various places in the Bible where I could find Leviathan and in Kings and other places. And I had both of my Bibles open, and gosh, I should have looked it up in here and had see what Rashi has to say about the great whale. And Dark Violent MC1. I'm such a Bible nerd, but clearly you are too, Mon Patel. Says Dark Violent MC1 says Dark Violent MC is Ron, by the way. Oh, Ron just got back from the U.S. Interesting seeing you studying your Bible. Now, Ron. Gee, hey, Ron. Ron is one of my oldest, um, you know, friends and companions in the YouTube space. Ron is Israeli, no less. And Ron doesn't mind me saying anything. Ron's is more of an open book. Ron is a secular Jew, and a world traveler. And I would probably say Ron is the poster child for young men in particular, but young people, but particularly young men who have been the focus of my message in all my years of doing this. Who I wrote Going Alone for basically people like Ron, who are basically wondering at the great expanse of the universe around them, maybe secular minded in nature and ready to take the dive. Ron has done it. And I've met Ron in person. And Ron, I can't wait for you to come by and see me again. We have a lot of catching up to do. And where did you come up with Dark Violent MC1? That's what a name. And guys, I have got to finish off. Morning exercise is starting in just a few minutes. So I'll sign off for now. Sorry to just suddenly and abruptly end. Um, Montanville says, I certainly am a believer, but not via a church or denomination, just myself and the Lord to lead. Well, that is a very genuine way to do it. I respect and admire and salute your endeavor. Dark Violent Mem says, haha, 14 years ago, indeed. Evelyn says, bye, friends. Have a fun day. Dark Violent Ron says, thanks for the kind words. You demand. Thank you. No, you demand. Come see me, Ron. Let's go have lunch. Um, that stands for all of you. Anybody come see me. Come through Shizuoka and let's have lunch. Thank you. Neil says, PT2 says, welcome home, Kurt. Good to see you again. Thank you. Tim says, take care. Robert says, take care. Robert says hi to, and of course, Robert always coming in. You're so good at saying hi to everybody, Robert. Thank you to Neil, PTY. Be safe, but not too safe, everybody. As for me, I'm going to go do radio exercise now. First day of work. I'll give you a status report on how that goes tomorrow when I do this. And for tonight, I'll die in my sleep. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Bye bye.